We're gonna go check, check, check.
Welcome to my stage.
Yeah. Oh, you can see. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Cultivator Culture podcast. My name is Coach Austin, and my guest today is Coach Greg. He and I have coached together here at Steinbrenner High School for the last 13 years, and we have seen every first that could potentially happen in this high school program. So I thought just any more appropriate that we would be together on the first podcast for the Cultivator Culture. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, best buddy.
It's
my best buddy.
Forever. All right, tell me, we're sitting in your classroom right now. This is your classroom. It's been your classroom for how long?
This is my 14th year in this room.
Okay. Please tell everyone what your title is here at the school.
I am the science department head. I am the football assistant, and I'm the head coach of the women's flag football team.
Awesome. So lots of influence here at the school, not only as a teacher but also as a coach. So far this year, boys football isn't doing very good. We're at 2-5. What do you think that we are doing? Let's start here. What are we doing well so that this season can be a success, so we can finish the year in a good way?
So, we talk about this all the time. It's not, wins and losses are not always an indicator of success, right? Success on the field, absolutely. But I think the bigger picture is something from day one, and I think it's a reason that our staff has stayed together for so long, is that we coach to have fun, we coach to help raise young men the right way, and we coach to make sure we're making better citizens for the community. I think those are the things we do amazing. Just the little culture building things that we do, getting our players and our athletes exposed to different parts of the world they may not see on a daily basis, through our community services, through our last year with the shopping cart experiment we did. But I think what we do a great job of is, creating really successful student athletes. Now, this year that is not transition to the win column every week, but that's okay because we're still winning in a lot of other areas.
I agree. I think the philosophy that we've had since we've been together is we're trying to build, a good football program, but we're trying to build great men. You are an absolute integral part of that. But same, I assume, goes for the girls' flag football team that you guys have, had a lot of success in the most recent years. Tell me what things that you are doing with them that is keeping them at the top of the district and a contender for a state title every year.
So, again, we carried a lot of our football, the football morals and traditions that we do with our guys over to that group. And we treat them like student athletes, and we have fun. It's always about the student athlete for us. So it's a sport where you share a lot of athletes because you've got young ladies who play softball and track and lacrosse and club volleyball and club soccer, and they're all in the same season with flag. So when this whole thing started, it was a lot of, well, I have this, I have that. So we've kind of morphed things a little bit to make it more about the student's experience and allowing, my thing is, it's not, an athlete doesn't belong to coaches, right? They need to have the path that they see fit. So we've gotten really good about sharing athletes in the spring, where there's so many different opportunities for these young ladies. And as long as we expect up front, them to be very responsible in the sense that we know what their schedules are. And we talk about that ahead of time. Hey, next Tuesday I'll be here. I won't be with you. So we hold a little bit bigger roster than most schools do. That way, the athletes can experiment and try a lot of different things in the spring. So we have a soccer goalie who does, training in different parts of the country during the spring for her goalie training, and she'll be out this week or next week, but she's real responsible with her scheduling, letting me know where she's at, and then just building the culture and making them realize that family comes first in terms of your real family, but then your team is your second family. And I think we've done a really good job of building the leadership there and getting them to buy into what we're trying to do.
Nice. Going back to boys football, what do you think that as a coaching staff, right, as mentors to these boys, even with the kind of season that we're having, what do you think that we could do better as coaches, as adults, right, as having kids of our own? What could we do more of, or what could we do better with the guys that we have, especially knowing we're on the wrong side of the winning record, and that we've got a couple tough games still coming up? What do we say?
I think the biggest thing is always understanding there's always room for growth. We've been doing this. This is my 20th year coaching. Still don't know half of what some people know. I mean, there's some unbelievable coaches out there. Coach, if you look at Coach, what is his name? That guy. He's amazing. One of my coaches, Coach Gerke from the Orlando area, who coached Warren Sapp and a bunch of other NFL guys. The big thing he always preached was, be the link do your job. And I think this year, just where we're seeing some of our struggles is I think that we have guys that are doing a great job, and then we'll just little things. It's just focused on the little things. I think this year we haven't done, not necessarily as a staff, but just as an entire group, haven't executed there as well as we normally.
Agreed. I think I agree with that. I also think, from my standpoint, we are so result driven. Like, Americans love winners. Footballers, obviously, we love to win because we have had a couple of very, very good seasons here. However, coaching and giving praise based on winning is a whole lot different when it comes to even the research, rather than effort-driven praise. And so I think that's where I'm starting to go myself, is I'm trying to look at guys and praise them for their effort rather than the result. And I think what I'm seeing, and what we're seeing, especially with a guy like Andrew Diaz, is he's improving by leaps and bounds because he doesn't feel like he has to come to the table with a specific number of carries, yards, touchdowns. It's, does he hold on to the football properly? Does he run the right path? Does he see what we see? And I think it takes a lot more pressure off of the guys and off of the kids in general. So with speaking of pressure, between you and I, we both played in college. Was there something that your coach or a coach or a mentor said to you that stuck with you then, and that maybe sticks with you now when it comes to, I'm in tough times, I'm in a spot where I got to bear down and I got to have a little bit of grit and resilience? Is there something that comes back to you? Something that somebody said?
I think I played for an unbelievable coach in college, John Audino, one of the all-time winningest coaches in Division III football, and he played for Notre Dame, won a national championship, unbelievable dude. One of the things that he did an incredible job with, and I think I could say the same for Coach Perez here at Steinbrenner, is he built a staff that had all different types of coaches and characters on it, where you legitimately had a coach for any situation you could go to if you needed something. We had Coach Cottrell, he was a jokester. He had fun. He would draw us pregame pictures to kind of lighten the mood. But then, he'd get in your butt, too, if he needed to. So Coach Brown, my defensive coordinator, he really taught me a quick life lesson. Him and Coach Aran, who was my defensive back coach, because I went in thinking I was a little bit more big time than I was at the time.
Mhm.
And my first meeting, I showed up to on time,
Yeah.
right? But if you're, the famous saying, if you're not early, you're late.
Yeah.
So I showed up on time to a meeting and immediately went from moving up the depth chart to the bottom of the depth chart. And I learned quickly that, you need to fall into, and the important thing we've talked about is football is a beautiful path and it creates wonderful people that get on the path. And it's not you necessarily creating your own path,
Right.
but you getting into this is a successful line. Now you can branch off of that,
Right.
but take all those little steps at the beginning and take the beginning roads that are going to give you that strong foundation. And I think that is something my college coach has really showed us. He showed us that, I was from Florida, one of the only guys from Florida playing in New York. Him and his wife opened their home to us out-of-state guys all the time for dinner.
Yep.
And just really poured into the idea of family first.
Yep.
This is your family away from your family. And I've been lucky enough. I've been coached by my father, who preached that to me at a young age. My high school coach, who was phenomenal with that, college coach, and just to see that in the program that I coach in is very important to me.
Nice. Now, speaking of characters and coaching staffs, we've been together for 13 years. Coach Perez and I have been together since day one. The core of our coaching staff has been together probably close to a decade. Like you said, the variation of coaching styles and coaching personalities and different backgrounds that people come from, where do you think that you and I fit in the character of what the kids look at and say, I need to come to these guys for X?
I think, I'd like to think that we are two coaches, not the only coaches, but we're two coaches that the guys know they can go to if there's an issue, if they're having a problem outside of football. I feel like just on the way we enjoy ourselves and have fun and let the kids know, yes, this is a serious game, but you got to have fun when you're doing it. I like to just, I'm at your place on Sundays. I see all the old guys come back and work out. We cultivate a group and an attitude that we are here always. It doesn't have to be just football. We're here for you in life. We're here for you after high school.
Yep. We're
We're not just your coaches. We're mentors in your lives.
Agreed. I think also, we're certainly the comic relief of the group, because in sports nowadays, right, people are just way too serious. Our coaching staff can be like that also, but I think we bring this flavor of dance and music, and the kids appreciate that, because sometimes, again, being in a result-driven world, they're really afraid to make mistakes, where we share all of our mistakes, but then we're out there goofing around, we're keeping it light. I think they appreciate it, because Coach Perez doesn't always. But
we had a player yesterday. He
Yeah.
dropped a pass. He's in a bad mood, and I said, "Hey, you want to heist some art at the gallery with us?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And he just started laughing, and then he was ready to go to the next play. You just gotta have fun. The kids, and the biggest thing, you see coaches all the time who, their language is hard-nosed and yelling, and that's not me personally. I've had coaches like that. I didn't respond to it well. I listened to them, but to me, as an athlete, as a former athlete, I knew when I made mistakes, and I was hard on myself, and I didn't need to be piled on. Now, sometimes you do, right? But for me, that's why I always do my best to try and, hey, you messed up, but I'm going to tell you in a nice way, in a fun way,
Yeah.
that we're going to get back at it next play.
Yeah.
Don't take it too serious. Get back to the next one. That's why we're here.
Right. I think for myself, there was so much pressure playing in college and playing in professional football and professional rugby afterwards.
I don't know anything about that.
There was always this, you put so much weight on yourself, but there's so much weight that other people put on you as well, like expectations.
And there's a lot of weight that you think people are putting on you that's not even being put on you. You're just being harder on yourself.
Right. And with that being said, if you look at us now and the way we've coached kids like 13 years together, what would you tell yourself if you were a high school kid at Steinbrenner High School playing football for us right now that's messing up? That was you.
I wish, and I knew this year one of college football, if I could go back right now, and I'm a freshman in college, just getting through my camp.
Yep.
I was like, if I was done with this last year and had one more year of high school ball, I would absolutely dominate. And the reason is, when you get to college, you're on your own. You're kind of the low guy on the totem pole when you were used to being the big fish.
Yep.
And you have to take coaching. You have to look up to your captains. You have to look up to cheerleaders. I wish more than anything that when I was younger, I think I was coachable, but I wish I would have went and seeked out more from my coaches.
So what would you have told yourself then?
I would have said, be a sponge and take everything in. There is so much that your coaches and your teachers have to offer you that you just want to get through the day because you want to be done with school. Practice is long. You just want to go home and play some video games or do something at home. But live in the moment and take in all the experience around you.
Yep.
Because every coach you have, every teacher you have, they have a very, very firm-rooted past that has a lot of ups and downs and a lot of lessons you can learn from them.
I oftentimes, tell a lot of the guys that, football is one of those sports that you can't play recreationally, that you can't play in a pickup league. Like, it's one of the very few sports that it tells you when you're finished. And so that's why I'm always pumping to them as well, too, that you have to really enjoy right where you're at. You have to enjoy that moment, because it's a collision sport, it can be a blink of an eye and you're finished. And if you haven't taken the time to appreciate where you're at in that moment, then what ends up happening is you leave and you become these parents who are the woulda, coulda, shoulda parents, the helicopter parents, the parents that are yelling and screaming at referees and coaches and pushing their kids into things that they maybe don't want to do because you missed grabbing and capturing the moment for yourself. So if it was me and I was young again, I would say that, because I was on a different path. I certainly knew where I was going, so I took a lot of that stuff for granted. I didn't do and participate in a lot of things, and I probably missed out on a lot of friends and friendships.
Same.
Because I was just too busy trying to get the hell out of there. So
I have a similar, real quick story. College, there's another freshman DB, ends up being my college roommate, one of my best friends later. But freshman year, I go into camp, and first practice, he does some incredible thing that I can't do because I'm a foot shorter than him. And so this is Danny Melias, and he's been a college coach, been a head coach in high school for years at the prep schools. And but right out the gate at camp, I see him getting praised like crazy, and immediately that's in my head, football-wise, like, I have to be better than him. So instead of learning from a guy who ended up being the guy that taught me some of the biggest lessons in college, right out the gate, instead of forming that brotherhood, like, dude, way to go, like, I wanted to beat him. I was more concerned with being better than him than I was with learning from him and growing together.
Right.
And a couple years later, obviously that mentality changed, but coming out the gate, I think we could have built each other much more if I wasn't so stubborn.
Yeah. Speaking of which, right, building, and asking yourself and telling and coaching yourself, if you were 20 years younger, right, if you were a student here at Steinbrenner, you do have a son here.
I do.
He's a ninth grader now, Gregory, and we see him every day in practice, and we see him every day in the games. And there were some moments I'm sure you're conflicted as a dad and as a coach. And then when you go home with the guy, I'm sure you're sometimes like, where's the line and what should I say and what should I not say? Because he plays on defense and we're both running back coaches and special teams guys. So now that you have a son that's actually playing, which is, again, I can't wait till it's my turn because that's probably an amazing feeling. What do you tell him on a daily basis when you know he's the freshman out there? He's getting his butt kicked out there. He's making a ton of mistakes. He sometimes hangs his head. He sometimes, he bounces back. What do you say to him when you're in the car and going home and the guy's had a terrible day?
Nothing. I don't say anything. And the reason is my dad was my coach for years. And my mom, my biggest fan, she'd be at every game ever, loudest person in the crowd. But she always wanted to talk about the game right after the game. Yeah. Father was real good at it. He'll talk to us when he's ready, which I really appreciated both sides. It was awesome. My mom's involvement in my sports career, and then just my dad understanding like let him deal with him for a little bit.
Right.
And then we've had coaches on the staff, Coach Long, Coach Ross, who have coached their kids here, and it's really cool to watch it from a distance. But when your kid's here, it's awesome. It rejuvenates you a bit in the coaching because I'm not coaching him very much because I've got guys I trust and I love and respect that I know will take care of what they need to take care of with him, and I can be there to celebrate him and coach him up when it's my turn with special teams. But I'm lucky that I have a son who does the right thing most of the time. He's a great kid. He's very responsible, very respectful. He's been training with you for a couple of years and been getting a lot of life lessons from you, which you help me with, so I don't have to do them sometimes.
He's good. He's a great kid.
But I think the important thing is on the field, you have coaches that can help you, and when you need to coach, you coach, and then after the game, let them be a kid and just they'll come talk. He comes and talks to me when he needs to talk.
Yeah.
And if there's something I need to talk to him about, I say, hey, can we chat about this?
Yeah.
And he'll be like, in a little bit, or he'll say, yeah, let's talk. So it's really cool just seeing from the beginning of the year where my son is a brainy guy.
Yep.
And
he's a nerd.
So to see him thinking as much as he was, and you can see him thinking in the process of playing, and and we're halfway through the season now, a little more than halfway, and it's starting to all click. And I think that's a big testament to him taking coaching from guys I think are great coaches, and some of the leaders he has in his position group who are, pouring themselves into him. So very excited for his growth over the next few years and just seeing him continue to develop in the sport.
He's definitely one we've seen grow up, and he's going to be a contributor later on. He's going to be one of the leaders. I think he has been sitting in the culture for many years because he used to be our ball boy also when he was in middle school. So I think those roots are already ingrained in him. And I think that's where success really is going to lie for us in the future, is being able to get the culture into the guys rather than the X's and O's, because what's happening now is we're very, very sharp at the X's and O's. Like the coaching staff, we scheme like crazy. You've got NFL guys that are coaching positions, and we still can't find success on the other side of those contests. I mean, there's games where you win real easy. There's games where you are you get blown out. But the contests are the ones that really test your character, the ones that test your integrity, right? And I think that's, for us, as Gregory starts getting older, the culture will begin to change again. And that's how it works in high school. It's cyclical. But I'm excited, too, to see what it's going to look like when he's a junior and he's a senior, to see what not only the group is going to look like, but what the culture is going to be. Because we're certainly still going to be here. And then when my sons are here, then we'll likely still be here too.
Just a lot grayer.
Yes, older, but we're still going to be as funny as we are. So, listen, thank you so much for your time. You're my best friend here at the school. We have so much fun.
Don't say
together.
at the school.
No, not the school. I'm sorry.
Don't say
One of my best friends at the school. You're the only friend I have, the only person I know. But I appreciate your time, your knowledge, and your wisdom. And like I said, with the podcast, we have experienced a lot of firsts together when it comes to this football program. This is a first as in terms of an interview podcast. We'll take a peek and see how it all looks. Just like football, we look at the film, look how if the camera really does add 10 pounds or 10 years to us. But
10 pounds for sure.
I absolutely appreciate you, and thank you for everyone tuning in and watching. We definitely appreciate you. Make sure go ahead and win your day. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please post them and be well. Enjoy your day.
All love, my friends.